Well, this is the new year is here, and I wanted to talk to you this morning. I'm kind of looking at all of you this morning as a team, as a group of people. We are all here sitting at different pews. Some of you are up here up front, and some of you are out there in the back and all over the building. And some of you don't even know each other or know each other just a little bit. Some of you have seen each other over the years, but you really don't know much about each other. But yet at the same time, we are all on the same team. And we are all in the same with the same purpose that God has for us. And I want to talk about that this morning, and I want to see if we, as a team, as a church, as a family, can make a difference this year in our community and in our world. And that's what I want to talk about this morning. Inspiration is something that comes to us every once in a while. Usually in the beginning of the year, we are inspired to do something wonderful. And we make a resolution. We put together a list of the things we are going to accomplish. And, people want to lose weight and make money and save money and pay off their credit cards and buy a new car and get a new job and get married and get accepted into a fine school and all of that stuff. And then, January kind of slowly disappears. The calendar just goes by, days go by, and pretty soon you're in February and you look back, and whether you have followed through on your commitments or not, it doesn't matter. Life just goes on, and pretty soon you're in March, and life just keeps going on. And most people never really accomplish all of the things that they set to do at the beginning of the year. We all want this transformation, right? Everybody, millions of dollars are made each year, probably billions, teaching people how to transform their lives. You go into a bookstore and there is a whole section on improvement, self-improvement. Everybody wants something better for themselves. And that's what I want to talk about today. I believe that in order for transformation to take place, you have to be inspired. But in order to be inspired, I believe that the best inspiration comes from God. We get inspired by other people every once in a while, but the lasting inspiration, the inspiration that stays with you for the rest of your life, that comes from God. So I want to ask you today if you would like to allow God to inspire you to be more this next year, to enjoy life a little bit more, to improve your situation in life, your status in life. I would like to ask you if you would like to allow God to inspire you to forget the negative experiences that you have had in your life, to focus on the future, to focus on the positive. He can do that. He can inspire you to do those things, but you have to allow Him to do that. You can allow God to inspire you to eliminate all of the things that have been pulling you down and that have been preventing you from being at your best, and that have also prevented you to do great things for God. We are called as God's children to do great things for Him, not just for us, but also for Him. Now, if you want to get inspired to improve your physical fitness, you look at people who have done that. So I put a couple of pictures, three pictures on the screen. And generally this is what you see when you go online and you see these huge transformations. This last one I like the best. I think that guy really made some changes in his life, right? That's a big transformation right there. So if we want to change our physical ability or looks or lose weight, we go and we look at people like that, right? And we say, wow, if that guy could do it, then I can do it. If we want to improve something else in life, for example, our success in life, what do? Then we go and we look at people who have done great things in business or with money management or something like that. So I put a couple of pictures on the screen of a few guys who have done great things, and you may know some of these guys. Keep the first one there just for a second. I'll just tell you just a little bit about each person. This guy, his name is Howard Schultz. He grew up in the Brooklyn projects. You know, his father was a truck driver, so that tells you everything about how much money they had and how far he was going to go in life. You know, most people say if you're not making money, if your parents are not making money, you're not going to go far in life. It's not true. It's really not true. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter which side of the tracks you were raised on and born on. It doesn't matter. So this guy, he went to school, went to college, he went to working for Xerox, and then he decided to get the job with a small coffee company called Starbucks that only had 60 stores at the time. And pretty soon he worked his way up to becoming a CEO of the Starbucks, and under his leadership, they grew to 16,000 stores. And his net worth today is over $1 billion. So this is a kid whose dad was a truck driver. So if you want to get inspired to do something great financially, you go and you read these stories and you go to seminars and pay good money for people to teach you that you can do this, right? Another one, what's the next one? Let's see the next one. The next one, you will recognize him. He's Sam Walton, and he grew up as a little boy during the Depression. He was milking cows and selling newspapers door to door. And then when he was 26 years old, he borrowed $5,000, and his father and parents loaned him another $20,000, and for $25,000 he bought a Ben Franklin variety store. And then he started another and another and another, and pretty soon they were called Walmarts and Sam's. And when he died, he left billions of dollars to his children, wife, family, kids, and so on. Started out on a farm, milking cows, selling newspapers. And stories like that are all over. This article that Jasmina found for me has stories of like 15 different people. I just chose 3. Another one is this guy, Li Ka-shing. He's the richest man in Asia. He's the richest man in Asia. When he was a young boy, his father died from tuberculosis. He did not have money to go do anything. He got a job in a plastics factory, worked his way up to becoming a manager and to owning different companies, went into banking, cellular, anything. He's today one of the richest people in the world, started with absolutely nothing. So, you want to get inspired to do something in your life, you go and you look at these people who have already done it before you. Now, we get to what I really want to talk about. If you want to get inspired to do great things for God, the problem is you can't look at other people who have done great things for God. You just can't. And I'll tell you why. You can't because you cannot imitate spirituality. You cannot imitate Moses and Paul and Peter. You cannot imitate genuine spirituality. You can imitate the bodybuilder. A bodybuilder, you go and you ask him, how many push-ups, how many weights, what are the reps, and you can imitate those motions, and you can get there. But spirituality you cannot imitate. Why? Because God inspires different people differently. God inspired Moses to be the leader. But God also inspired Paul to be the servant. God inspired David to be king. Right? But then he inspired Peter to die as a martyr on the cross. So God inspires everybody a little bit differently. And the reason why you cannot look at other people to imitate their spirituality and to have the same success, spiritually speaking, is because God has a special task for you. God has a preordained special job for each one of you because you are everybody, each one of us is special in His eyes. And He has a special purpose for us, for every single one of us. So that's why you can't imitate these other people. But when you look at all of these people, whether it is Moses or Paul or Peter or David, you find out that they all had one thing in common, and that is they all did great things for God. What's the greatest thing that you can do for God? What is the greatest thing that you and I can do for God? I guess my microphone fell off. Greatest thing that you and I can do for God love. Greatest thing that we can do for God is to love other people and to allow God to use us to save other people. As simple as that. Every one of those guys that I just mentioned, that's all they did. They allowed God to use them to save other people. Is God using you and I to save other people? Is that what He's doing? If you want to be inspired to do great things for God, you can't look at other great spiritual people. You have to actually go directly to God. You have to go directly to Him. It says in Hebrews 11:6, and without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to Him must believe that He exists, and that He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. So if you want to do great things for God, you have to go and earnestly seek God yourself. You cannot imitate some other great person, Billy Graham or whoever. You can't. You have to go to God Himself and earnestly seek Him. In other words, find out for yourself if God is real. Find out for yourself if God is willing to work in your life. Find out for yourself if God is going to answer your prayers or not. That's not something that can be learned and imitated by looking at other people. You have to take the steps yourself. So I want to give you what I believe are 6 rules for receiving inspiration from God. Number 1, when you approach God, you and I, we have to understand, and this is very important, that God does not owe us anything. A lot of times, people go to God and they demand things and they ask for things, and their prayers consist of nothing but asking for something, of something of God. God doesn't owe us a single thing. Job 41 says, God is speaking, and He says, who has a claim against me that I must pay? Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. This is what God says. So number 1, when we are approaching God and asking Him to come into our lives and to inspire us and to help us to be His servants, number 1 thing that we have to understand is He doesn't owe you a thing. He does not have to do anything for you. And I tell you, when you go into your prayer to God, I think it's a good idea to say, Lord, I know you don't owe me nothing. I know that. I recognize that. I recognize that anything that you are going to share with me is because of your own goodness. It's a gift. Not because I deserve it, or not because you have some kind of an obligation towards me. So if you come to God with the right attitude, then He starts listening. Then He starts paying attention to what you have to say. So attitude is extremely important. Talking about attitude, number 2 rule is approaching God humbly. Humility, very important. Humble yourself before the Lord, and He will exalt you. James 14:4, verse 10. Humble yourself. In 1 Peter 6-7, it says, humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time He may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on Him because He cares for you. So here we are learning something more about God. We are learning that when we come to Him humbly, He's going to take care of us, and He's going to lift us up, and He's going to exalt us, He's going to use us, and then we can cast all of our anxieties and fear on Him, and we don't have to worry about solving all of our problems because we know that God is in our corner. So humility is extremely important. You know, another reason why we ought to be humble is because life is extremely fragile. I was just telling Victor, I don't know how many of you heard, but our friend Gil Sandoval, who lives in Puerto Rico now, was admitted to the hospital, and then one thing after another, heart, aneurysm, blood clot, and before you know it, they are putting him into an induced state of coma just to save his life. And he's what, 62, 3? Life is fragile. You never know. We were at the funeral the other day for Sue's dad. I saw a picture of Muhammad Ali just a few days ago. And he looked, like a tiny little old man. And he used to be the most powerful athlete in the world just a few short years ago. Life just goes. I mean, I look around here and I see people. Veso, one day healthy and next day in a hospital. Drajan, many others. You just never know. So why be arrogant? Why be proud? Why not recognize that this life you cannot control? Go to God humbly. Go to Him in humility. Because He's the only one that can protect you and lift you up when the trouble comes. Number 3, if you want God to inspire you to do great things for Him, you must admit your past failures. You cannot fake out God. You cannot fool Him. You cannot pretend with Him. You cannot keep secrets from Him. Whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. So God says, look, just be honest with me. Don't lie to me. Don't pretend. What's your relationship with God like? When you go to prayer, in prayer to God, with God, what do you do? Did you ask Him to forgive all of your sins, or do you just pretend that it's okay and God has forgotten? He doesn't remember anymore. God is not like other human beings. Somebody hurts me, and they do something bad to me, and a few years go by and I forget. But God remembers everything. You can't fake Him out. You can't pretend that everything is okay. If you haven't asked for forgiveness, if you haven't made your life right with Him. So before you enter into a relationship with God and ask Him to inspire you to do great things for Him, go to your knees. I suggest today, after church, when you get home, instead of going to do some other things that we all can do, take a little time and go to the Lord and say, Lord, I want to make things right with you. Remember when I did such and such? That was wrong. I want to ask you for your forgiveness. And if I have done something to offend other people, I'm going to go make it right. You see, when you do that, then God says, I hear you. Now I hear you. If you are never willing to admit your mistakes, you're basically putting earplugs in God's ears. if you're just pretending that everything is okay, and you basically put earplugs into his ears and he can't hear your prayers. So why not take care of that? Be honest with God. All he wants to do, after all, is forgive you. He doesn't want to punish you. He wants to forgive you. And the funny thing is, he also wants to reward you. This is so unfair, so un-American, so unjust, that we can do something bad, and God, instead of wanting to punish us, he wants us to come clean, and then he wants to reward us. You're not going to find that kind of justice system anywhere else on this planet. Only in a church. So why not then go to the Lord and say, come clean. Once and for all. Why not start the year like that, 2016? Start it out that way. Get it out of the way. And that's, by the way, that's personal stuff. That's between you and God. You do that in your own house. Close the doors, close the windows. When nobody's looking, it's between you and God. Number 4, turning the control of your life over to God. Proverbs chapter 3, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. That's what it means. That's the definition of turning your life over to God. Acknowledging him in all of your ways. Not trusting in your own knowledge and understanding. Trusting in God with all of your heart. That means trusting in his love. Trusting that he cares for you. Trusting that he's your father. Trusting that he wants whatever is best for you. That's what that means. And then when you do that, when you acknowledge God in all of your ways, in everything that you do, in other words, it says here, he will make straight your paths. In other words, he's going to put your life on the right track. He's going to help you out. He's going to hear you. He's going to inspire you to do great things. Number 5, relax. Once you have done those 4 steps, next thing is to relax and to wait. And to wait confidently. God has not called us to live in fear. He has not. God has not called you to live in anxiety. God has not called you to constantly focus on the negative. God has not called you to always worry about what's going to happen next. He has not. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. And let your heart take courage. And then he says again, wait for the Lord. Be strong, take courage. God wants people who are strong. God wants people who are not afraid of anything. Why? Because he's on their side. He's going to protect them. He's going to take care of them. You may have trouble right now in your life, and I know there are people in this very building right now who have troubles. And they don't know how they are going to resolve their troubles and how they're going to cope with their troubles and how they're going to find solution for their troubles. And all I can tell you is God knows. He knows, and he says, be strong. Do all of these things that we have just talked about in this sermon. And then don't be afraid. Be courageous and wait for the Lord. Be patient. Wait for him confidently. The most important of all of these rules that I'm going to share with you today is this next one that's coming up. And if you understand that, you understand Christianity. If you understand that, you understand grace. If you understand that, you understand the plan of salvation. If you understand this next point, you don't need to understand anything else. And that's rule number 6. Abide in Jesus. And the word abide, we don't use that in English language anymore. Nobody uses that. I mean, you see that in the old books. Abide. But it's an important word. Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. You cannot be inspired, you cannot be transformed unless you remain in Jesus Christ. That's what the word abide means. Living in Jesus and Jesus living in you. Being present in the life of Jesus and Jesus being present in your life. That's what it means to abide. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. You will do great things for God if you abide in Jesus. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Go out there here in the spring, when the spring comes out, and cut the branch off of a tree. Nice, beautiful, healthy branch with leaves that are coming up, alive with life. Cut it off and just put it on the ground. See what happens. Come back tomorrow and it's all shriveled up. You can throw it into the trash. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. Interesting, right? If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. Why are we not applying this stuff in our lives, folks? John 15. Remain in Jesus Christ. You know, the biggest misconception in Christianity is the one that Satan gave us all, and most churches fall under it, including Seventh-day Adventist Church, you know, is this idea of works. Working your way into an embrace of God. Working your way into God's good graces. Working your way into heaven, into salvation. Branch bears fruit because it is attached, not because it is trying really hard. Pick a tree, I don't care what tree, apple tree, pear tree. That branch on that tree, when the apples come up, they've come up and they've grown on that branch because that branch is attached to a tree. Not because the branch was out there working really hard to make that happen. You cannot do good things, you cannot be successful, you cannot be inspired, you cannot do great things for God unless you are attached to Jesus Christ. I chose that little picture of that flower growing out of that rock. And I heard somebody say that the most beautiful things grow in the most difficult conditions. And that little flower, as beautiful as it is going to remain alive and beautiful as long as the roots are connected to that tiny little bit of soil that found its way into the cracks of that rock. As long as those roots are in that soil, that flower is going to flourish. As long as you're connected to Jesus, you can do great things in life. You can do great things for God. The moment you disconnect yourself from Jesus. So, let me say this. You, and I really want you to hear me what I'm saying. When I say you, I am addressing each one of you that is sitting in this room. I'm not saying you collectively. When I'm saying you and I mean you personally. Each one of you. That's what the meaning of this you is right now. So you can do great things for God. Every single and each one of you can do great things for God. You can be the person that God uses to save somebody. The greatest thing that you can do for God in this life is allow Him to use you to save somebody. There is nothing greater that you can do in this life for God. Nothing. I don't care if you give $10 billion. I don't care if you pull all the money and all the gold of this world into one big pile and give it to church. It's not worth as much as one person giving their life to Jesus Christ. So you can allow God to do great things in your life to save others. So I want you individually, to imagine what would it feel like if you were doing great things for God. What would that feel like if you were saving somebody? You know how people are grateful when sometimes you do little things for them? We were here yesterday, and I was driving down the street and saw this old lady just a block down the road. She was trying to shovel her snow. Yesterday morning it was coming down pretty good. And I came back here and Red was shoveling snow around the church. And I said, "Hey, Red, why don't you walk over there, see if that lady can use a little help." So he ran over there and ended up shoveling her driveway and her sidewalk and the whole house. And she was so grateful. 85 years old. When you do something little for a person, they're going to be grateful. How would it feel to allow God to use you to save somebody's life? I want you to imagine, how would that feeling be? What would you feel in your heart? I don't want to leave this sermon without giving you an action plan. And that's why I started out in the beginning by saying we're a team. Each one of us. You're sitting here on this side or sitting over there, working in a school or working in a hospital or staying at home. We're a team. Regardless of all of our differences, we're a team. I want us to ask God to inspire you to do great things for Him and and us as a church to do great things for Him. When you leave here, or even before you leave here, I would like to invite you to ask God to allow Him to inspire you to do great things for Him. Don't leave without making that request of God in your head and in your heart. Even as you're listening to me speaking these words right now, you can, in your heart and in your mind, you can say, "Lord, inspire me. Inspire me to wake up and to do something great for you this year." We put together this simple, very, very simple page, and Jim gave it to you. So this is what I would like us to do this year. I would like to ask you to make a list of the people that you can pray for. And by the way, we're locking the doors. You're not going to leave here until each one of you. I'm not going to ask for these back. You're going to keep this in your file. But I'm going to ask you before you leave today to put one name on this list. Just put one name of a person that you're going to pray for this year. Not the person you're going to go give Bible studies, not the person you're going to go knock on the door and try to sell them great controversy. No. Just somebody you're going to pray for. I don't care if somebody who is not saved. It can be your relative, it can be your neighbor, it can be your co-worker. It can be your worst enemy. I don't care. It can be somebody that needs to know Jesus. It can be somebody who needs to know the truth, the gospel truth. Maybe the Sabbath truth. I don't know. You choose, whoever you want. One person. And I want you to put that name on this list. And as the days go by here, and as the weeks go by, I would like you to keep adding the names to this list of the people. And this is going to be the plan. I'm going to give you a very simple plan. I'm going to give you a plan that the little kids can do. I'm going to give you a plan that is absolutely risk-free. I'm going to give you a plan that you should pay money for, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to give you a great plan. Number one, put a few names on this list. Ask God to inspire you as to whose name to put on that list. That's number one. And then number two, start praying for those people on a regular basis. When I say regular, let me be more specific. Daily basis. 2 minutes. You don't have to spend 2 hours praying for these people. In the morning before you leave for work, take a look at your list and say, Lord, I've committed I was going to be praying for my friend Mike. Just, Lord, inspire me today to be good to Mike. Inspire me today to minister to Mike in some way. And if not, then maybe tomorrow you'll do that for me. In other words, you're opening the doors for God to start working through you. That's all you're doing. You're not doing anything strange or weird or hard. You're not embarrassing anybody. You're not going to anybody into anybody's face. You're just praying for them. That's all you're doing. You're just praying for them. And you start praying for them. And then as the time goes by, I'm going to ask you if the Lord moves you and if you feel it necessary, and say you have a person that you're praying for on this list, and if you want to, you can share that name with me or Milos. And you can say, guys, Pastor, will you also pray for this person? I'm not going to go visit them. I'm not going to go bug them. None of that stuff. We're just going to pray for them together. That's if you feel that that's what the Lord is inspiring you to do. So that's going to be the next step. And then as the time goes by, I'm going to ask you to pray to God to inspire you to minister to these people that you're praying for and to give you an opportunity to minister to them. You know what happens when you do that? You can't fail but to do great things for God. Because God is going to find an opening, a moment. You're going to go to work, and once you start praying for these people, number one, you're going to start seeing those people in a brand new light that you've never seen them in before. And then when you start asking God to give you an opportunity to minister to them, the opportunity is going to come. You're not even going to realize it. It's coming right there your way. And the person may come up to you and may say, hey, John, can I talk to you for a sec? And when they do that, when that happens, remember the words of Pastor Gordon. That's the moment that God is creating for you so you can minister. And all you have to do is say, okay, and sit down and listen. Don't have to give big lectures. Just sit down and listen. And when it's done, if they ask you to pray for them, you pray for them. If they don't, you say, hey, you want me to pray for you? You would not believe how God can use you if you just give Him a chance. Just praying for people and asking God to create an opportunity to minister to them. Down the road, you can ask God to inspire you to invite them to one of the church concerts like we have tonight, or a worship service, or a street beat, or something else. And God is going to be opening those doors for you. And we are going to try to create events here at the church that are not threatening so people can come. Now, if you believe that God can use you to do great things for Him, I guarantee that you are going to have success in winning souls and helping people get into the heaven. I guarantee that. Because, you know why? Because when you allow God to work through you, God never fails. You may fail, I may fail, but He never fails. So if you follow these simple steps, I guarantee you that God is going to use you to save somebody. Maybe they're not going to be a member of this church, that's fine, but they're going to be saved because of you. And I can guarantee you that because I know for a fact that when we allow God to work through us to save somebody, He never fails. And He never will fail. At this time of the year, churches and pastors, they go out there and they make these big goals. We're going to baptize 100 people, and we're going to baptize 200 people, and we're going to double the church and all of that stuff. So, I think I want to set the goal too. And my goal is this, for each one of you, that God, and this is going to be my prayer for you this whole year, that God uses you in this year, 2016, that God uses you to save just one person. Just one person. And I'm going to repeat this message in my sermons and in my messages over the next few months. And those of you who really decide to be serious about this, to allow God to use you powerfully to do great things for Him, I'd like you to start sharing your experiences with me and with the congregation. And I want to come back at the end of the year. This is the second Sabbath of the year. 2 down, 50 to go. I want to come back on that last Sabbath of the year. And I want us to look at the results. So hang on to that paper. Don't lose it. I want to see how we're going to do. I already made my list of the people I'm praying for. Just want to give you an example. I have people who serve at the counter at Einstein's. I have people that come and talk to me when I go to a gas station. I have a couple of neighbors. I have a couple of neighbors here around the church. We have some kids here in the neighborhood who stop by the church every once in a while. So I'm making my list of the people I'm going to pray for. I hope that you will too. And I know that every one of us has somebody that we can pray for. I hope that this message resonates with you. I hope that you want something more out of your life than just mundane things, job, money, and all of that stuff. I hope that you want God to really use you in a powerful way. And I hope that together as a team, we have a wonderful experience this year, 2016. These guys are going to sing one more song that I know is going to be inspiring to all of us. God bless you, folks.